All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you guys for joining us today. This is our second edition of TCC Talks. We're going to be doing the student panel today, talking about some of the issues you guys are dealing with, answering some questions you guys might have, and just overall having an open discussion. I'm going to be hosting today. My name is Robert Barber. I am the Fitness, Recreation, and Gaming Supervisor for the Norfolk Student Center. If you guys want to go ahead and take a moment here, we'll start with Ms. Maria up at the top. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
All right, I'll start first. My name is Ms. Maria S. Nieves. I am currently graduated from Human Services and now currently having a new major, which is Social Sciences. Former work study at the Student Center and Women's Center.
Thank you very much. Ms. Patricia?
I am Patricia Overman, the SGA president, and my major is Medical Administrative Assistant and General Studies.
Very good. Hassan?
I'm Hassan Smith. My major is General Studies, and I also work at the Counseling Office for Work Study.
Very good. Thank you for joining us this morning. Ms. Sky?
No problem.
Oh, I'm Sky Kidd. I work on the 4th floor of the Student Center, and my major is design.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and get this discussion started. First off, how's life been for you guys since the quarantine started?
Rough. Very hard. Or just you can agree with that. It's just really hard not to see everybody anymore and everything. You have to stay inside, but it's what keeps people safe. So more than happy to stay in, but at the same time, it's a really hard trade-off.
Yeah.
For sure.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, I think it's kind of 50-50. I do miss being out and interacting with everybody, like with the movie theaters and stuff like that, and going to work and seeing everybody. But I guess on the other half, it's kind of just more
12 o'clock.
Creatively. I can stay in the house and work on more stuff that I haven't done before. So to me, it's kind of half and half.
Right.
I want to pitch in on that. From my perspective, it's been struggling at the same time has been stressful. Yeah, it's the fact that trying to keep social media away, anything, I don't want to.
Really?
Plus being able to just get out of the house for just a while to keep my sanity in check. Yeah, it's kind of dealing with the balance.
Right.
And there are times that I'm like, well, I'm not experiencing stress over all this, but at the same time, I'm like, why am I feeling like this? So I have to recognize, yeah, this has affected me. Like hitting me like a truck and not me looking at it. So yeah, it's been stressful for everybody. I'm not the only one. But yeah.
It's very hard on people like us that need that interaction with humans, with other people on a daily basis. It's very mentally hard on people like that. And I know that's me. I miss being around everyone. It was a definite struggle transitioning over to how we were doing classes. Not accustomed to doing everything on my laptop at home, plus having my husband here because he's out of work because of this. And it was a struggle, but I managed. I managed to get through it just fine. And the one thing that saved our sanity was we took drives. We just got in our car and drove places and then came home. It got us besides seeing our own four walls, it got us to see other things.
Right. Well, let's roll this into what are some of the difficulties that you were facing as a student during this process?
Oh, goodness. Transitioning to online classes is probably one of the more difficult things. If you're not attuned to online classes, and if you've never taken an online class, that is probably the hardest thing that is to be overcome. It's very unconventional. While I think online classes are good in a whole, it's just the sudden, just midway through the fall semester or the spring semester, just suddenly we went to online, and it's really hard, and that had like a really big disconnect. And I think like communication would be one of the biggest struggles with your professors. It's really hard. Some of them are older professors that don't really have the ability, or like they don't really have the knowledge to be able to communicate outside of a email, so to speak.
Yeah.
Face-to-face Zoom calls are mostly fine with communication, but it's really hard to kind of want to reach out to somebody or have your teacher reach out to you to clarify an issue. I think is like the hardest part for me personally.
Yeah.
I think the fact of being after that lockdown, the transition hit hard on all of us, not only students, but staff and faculty.
Mm.
And you're right, Sky. There are some people that they're not accustomed to online classes or online communication, and there's some that they have that ability already. And from my perspective, it hit me hard because it was in the middle of my last part of my internship with Human Services, which required me to be at the agency. Well, after that lockdown, I was like, okay, what am I supposed to do now? So I was like, okay, I cannot be there, but I don't know what to do. What are they going to assign to me? So it was kind of a struggle with that, with the internship part. So for Human Services Department per se, yeah, it was like a kind of a blow for the ones who were having internship, even the first or the second part.
I can relate with that because this was supposed to be my last semester for summer, and I was supposed to graduate. But I think the class that I was supposed to take, the in-person lab got canceled, and then one got pushed to a 6-week, and it was a little too fast. So I had to like move it back to the fall. So I can kind of relate with that, especially with hands-on classes. We can't really do labs
Right.
and stuff through computer. So I can understand with that.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the biggest struggle during it was in the very beginning when we got the email that said, do not return from spring break. It kind of left us wondering what was going on, how things were going to work out. Were we going to cancel the whole semester? You know, it was very mentally taxing to be just thrown into a whirlwind like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can speak for faculty and staff, just as chaotic. You know, I mean, I remember, I want to say it was March 26th when that all came through. And I mean, it was, you know, we had maybe a couple hours notice that was going to be our final day. And so it was just a very surreal and difficult experience to try to grab everything that you needed in preparation and not know when you were coming back. So, you know, I can say as frustrating as it is for students, it's probably just as frustrating for faculty and staff. We've been dealing with considerable technological difficulties, you know, but we're I know on our end we are definitely doing the best that we can with what we've got.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, let's roll this over. I know that with a lot of the virtual learning, it came about kind of at the same time as a new process for us, which was Canvas. Have you guys been using Canvas, and how is that working out for you?
I've been dealing with Canvas just fine. I got all my assignments on Canvas. Got my Zoom meetings on Canvas. So, I mean, for me, it worked out just fine that way.
Did you feel it was an easy transition from Blackboard to Canvas?
Oh, yeah. I like Canvas better than Blackboard. There's a lot fewer ways that teachers, professors can do things or organize them. So it's easier to find what you need than it was with Blackboard.
Yeah, I agree. What I'm finding is a lot of my teachers they use Canvas to post assignments, but as far as the feature to kind of like submit your assignment via Canvas, they don't use it. They rather email for some odd reason. So it's like I'm half using Canvas just to look at what's due and what's not, and then submitting it via email, which is very, very strange. But if that's what they do, that's what they do.
Yeah, like I said earlier, you know, that they're professors that they're not accustomed with Canvas still. So that's why getting turning papers in or whatever via email will be the easiest for them. But yeah, it will take time for them to go through the process of training and all that with the Canvas program.
Yeah.
For me, Canvas is also, like Miss Patricia said, transitioning from Blackboard to Canvas. It's the same. For me, it's the same. It's just a little bit more. That's all it is. But other than that, I don't have any issues with Canvas at all. So
Yeah, me either. It's not wrong. It's not bad. I think the only helpful thing from it, I think you can get like some type of PowerPoint now for your textbooks, so you don't have to really go buy textbooks. Some psychology classes or sociology classes will add their own stuff into it, which is really helpful.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, that is good. I know that there's a lot of features on Canvas that we probably haven't used or aren't even aware of right now. I know that my department did a training a couple weeks ago. So there's a lot of really great stuff on there. I mean, there's the ability for you guys to submit stuff via Canvas of videos, and I think it's a much smoother process of submitting work. So the hope is that as we go forward with it, everyone becomes a little more accustomed, and the full features will come into play. Okay, so we haven't really gotten a date on when employees or students will be returning to campus. How do you guys feel about the possibility of returning to campus?
Oh,
Yes. All for it. All for it.
yes.
Yeah.
We need that. We need that. We need it.
We do.
We need it.
I would agree. I'm very excited about that possibility. Are you guys having any apprehension based off of safety or, the social distancing aspect?
Now, as I understand it, classes are going to be smaller, maybe like 10 per classroom. So the desks are going to be set further apart, which is going to be good. I think our school is taking those steps that are there to protect us.
Yeah, I know that the college, VCCS, and everyone are putting in a lot of work into some measures here for the return to campus to make sure that it's as safe as we possibly can make it for everybody, and as accommodating.
I don't doubt that it's going to be very safe. I'm just really excited to come back, and I'm wondering what other changes are going to be taking place, not only on the safety side, but also like within the school itself, like
Right.
just in general, like what improvements could be made. I'm wondering about those as well.
Well, that kind of rolls into my next topic here. What are some of the things that you would like to see TCC do to help the student body upon return to campus?
I think most of the lines will probably remain 6 feet apart. And especially in the counseling office, they'll probably have to change the waiting room since the seats are so together. So it'll probably be a lot more different in there, especially since the financial aid and counseling office is the most places where most people will be at. So that whole area will probably change a lot.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Um,
I'm hoping the school will hand out hand sanitizer to everyone on a regular basis.
Before walking in and everything, yeah.
Yeah.
Upon returning, I think like one of the things that I hope is a little bit more, I guess, adjusted or fixed would be kind of more signage about where students should go if they are looking for a certain service or thing of that nature. So a lot of people do come into the student center looking for financial aid when they're need to go to the financial aid building, and when they want to go to the financial aid building, they want to go to counseling, and then they're sent to the student center again. So that's one
Yeah.
thing I hope that kind of changes, because that's very it's very hard for, I think, students to kind of want to get over. It's just like, oh, they have to like go to the campus, and then now that they don't know where they're going, or they don't know exactly like where they should be, and they get frustrated because of that. And I really hope that's kind of fixed along those lines. Is there
Well,
any?
mostly, not only the signage, but for the people who are in attending a front desk, for example, us in the student center or Andrews building, we need to know what are the names of the building, number one, and where they located. Because if you go and tell the student, hey, well, if you need this, you go to the building across the street. Well, you don't know, there's a lot of buildings across the street, number one. So you don't know that if they need to go to the student center or the building that has the counseling, which is what
Martin building.
Martin, thank you.
Right.
So, every one time, please.
Well, I thought,
So yeah, I mean, you have that confusion every day. That they go to Andrews, and from Andrews they go, well, you can go to the one across the street. What is the name of the building across the street? So they need to know that. Like me and Jeanette, well, we know at least the names of the building. Well, you go to the Andrews building across the street, or Martin building next door, or Roper just a few things away, or Walker, which is right at the corner off. So yeah, we need to bring out more intel to the student in order for them to know where to go.
Right. And I think, I mean, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I don't know that the signage for each individual building is very noticeable. Like if you don't
It's
know
not.
that the student
No,
center
it's
is the
not.
student center, there's not notification that that's the student center.
No.
but that brings up a point that we were talking about doing last year with SGA, and it's something I want to work on this coming fall. And I'm going to talk to Dr. Constance about it. And it's about getting an area up front that's, a wooden frame that's permanent.
Mhm.
And in part of it, we can put a "You Are Here" map. And then we can list the buildings, where they are, what's inside the buildings. And that would help the students.
Yeah.
And have that as a permanent.
That'd be fantastic.
I agree. I agree with that.
So that's something that's on my list to talk to Dr. Constant about.
Cool. Well, I know that many of you are student workers. Many of you are work studies. As a student worker, what are some of the challenges that you're currently facing?
The lack of communication from certain departments within TCC, for sure. I know my supervisor has a hard time kind of trying to communicate with the other departments that actually handle the financial things of my job, and that is probably the most difficult and hardest thing, and definitely one of the strangest. Before I came to TCC, I worked for American Eagle, and it's just a normal retail job, and my manager at the time has everything, like anything that they can tell me, they are also the financial people, they are also my manager, they know, like they have the say so. and they don't need to go communicate with 4 other people to see if I can continue my job or if I can work this many hours or something of the sort. And it's that kind of break in power and communication within my job that is the most like confusing and weird thing I have ever come across in my life.
It definitely extends time from, you know, when the question needs to be asked to when the answer can be given.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I think that's the same thing with my department is communication, but more or less not us talking to each other, more or less the main thing going over us. And then we find out towards the end, like what's going on and what's happening.
It takes me like a week to find out, okay, my supervisor got this email about 3 workers, and then I don't get the email, and my supervisor's over here questioning this, that, and the third about if it applies to me or if it doesn't.
Hmm.
And it's just really difficult. I also think that it's just really strange how the main building, the student center building, their work studies are treated very differently than any other work studies outside of it. And I think, Hassan, you could probably vouch for that.
I think more or less it's different ways to organize it. Because I know in the student center is more professional, and in the counseling building it is professional, but in a different stand. As if we have to look the part, but we don't wear like TCC uniform shorts, any kind of short or anything TCC. We can wear our own stuff, but we still have to look apart. And if that's what if you're going off of, then yeah, sort of like that.
Yeah, let's keep in mind that we are in different areas of the campus.
I don't
Mm.
think it should
And
like be a cutoff though. I think that a work study in the main building should be treated and given everything that they're needed to be professional across the board on every building.
well, of course, I mean,
Yeah.
that's the number one thing. We have to be treated equally, of course. I understand that, but we have supervisors on top of us that wants a certain thing in a different direction. I mean, like the student center pretty much is viewed as a unique place for from work studies, if I'm not explaining myself well. For instance, from my experience being there, number one, as a part of the Women's Center for a year and a half, I mean, the Women's Center had identity once I stepped in there. And it was a work dynamic. So when I transitioned to the actual student center staff, you get that expectation. Yeah, you have to, you know, bring up this, do customer service, make sure this, make sure of that. And that's what I'm trying to say. Every building who has work studies are different. They have different standards. But should we be treated equally? Of course. No doubt about it. It's just every building has a different way
Yeah, I think in any
managing the work studies.
yeah, in any establishment, you're gonna you know, have different supervision styles. What I think Sky is touching on here, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sky, is a basic set of standards and rules coming forth for work study students across the board that would be held, that the department would be held accountable for making sure. For instance, all, you know, work studies should be have a uniform, you know, treated under a certain number of conditions,
Right.
from the top down. So again, you're going to have different supervisor styles. You're going to have different personalities, but a level of standards from the top down once they're hired that would be directed to each department, I think, is what Sky is touching on.
Okay, got it.
Is that correct, Sky?
Yeah, it's just very strange to go into one building and be treated like one thing because I'm a work study in the main building. But then if I have my coworker that works in like the Martin building goes in, they don't get treated with the same respect as I do. And it's because they work under a different building or they work in a different building. And that's
Right.
very strange to me.
I think it's more as if in our main building we're more as like the actual staff, and then in the other building it's more as if we're students. So it's the between of if we work study or if we students or if we workers, if you mean like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if I worked at a different job, if I went to a different American Eagle to work there partially or something of the sort, they would still treat me like staff over there, you know. They wouldn't treat me like a customer. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it is very unique at TCC as a work study student, because the moment you're off the clock, you transition directly from an employee to a student, and
Yeah,
that's
which
that
is-
gray area that I think a lot of people have trouble designating at which point to recognize you as an employee versus a student. And everybody's going to be a little bit different on it.
Mhm.
So as a whole, do you guys feel that you're valued as work studies employees?
I would say yes to the ones that knows that we work studies. I think it's still some people who wouldn't know that we're work studies until they see our faces a lot to understand that we are. So I'll say yeah.
I'd say yeah, but I have the privilege of working in the student center, which is where all students are going to come through if they want to pretty much speak to buddy. It's the main building. But any other work study that works in a different building, like the computer lab, and they're not really seen as often, they don't get that same privilege as being known as a work study, like if they went to the financial aid building.
Mhm.
Right, there's no designation or recognition. There's no way to recognize that they are a work study.
Yeah.
I know they was talking about name tags, but I don't think they ever went through with it.
And I never received mine, so.
I also
Well,
think that's strange
I
too.
would remind you guys that if you need a student ID, by all means come to the student center and make sure you get one, and that should be sufficient as an employee name tag.
See, that's strange. Like, I think that it'd also be hard if, like, for example, some workstays don't get uniforms. How can other students distinguish them as workstays there to help them?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a level of mistrust or a misunderstanding. Like, yes, we do have the uniforms, but other buildings don't.
Right.
And that's a difficult part.
I think that work studies should at least wear uniform just to pretty much identify themselves. I think that provides an identity and not much of a rejected or push away thing or confused. It's just, you know what, we're work studies, we're pretty much technically part of staff. So why not? A uniform code will be perfect.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges you guys definitely face is that you go to school with all of these other students, but when you're on the clock, you're in a position of responsibility, and that may be a difficult changeover for some of those students to respect your position. So it would definitely be an interesting, and I think maybe a move forward for you guys to have specific work study uniforms. Kind of like, remember when you were in elementary school and somebody would be selected as a hall monitor and they got that
You get the
sash and that
badge,
badge,
yeah.
Be like, oh, that's that guy. He's a hall monitor.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll see what we can do. Get you guys a nice little work study badge.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, let's move on. How has the change to the economy changed your current situation? Has it made it more difficult to be a student?
No. The change to the economy for me has enabled me to pay off bills and do some things I've wanted to do and get some things I've wanted to get. Because we didn't come back from spring break. I went on unemployment because I worked at the cafeteria.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we got the additional being on unemployment. So it's been very, very kind to me. It's made being a student easier because it's taken the stress out of paying bills away.
Right.
Mhm.
Has anybody had a similar or different experience?
Mm, I can't really think of one. It hasn't really been bad. I guess it's kind of just been in the middle. Like nothing extreme happened, like bad or good, but then nothing worse happening either.
Yeah. I can
It's,
understand that some people
yeah.
might, kind of struggle with the balance between work and school and have to prioritize between the two. Has anybody had that issue?
I can see how certain students might have that issue. For sure. I know that a lot of students like to have like 4 classes, 5 classes, and then go to work like part-time, full-time. And that's crazy. But um, for me, just not having work kind of, it disproportionately messes up my time. And it does give me more time to think about my classes, but it also just kind of just messes up this like internal clock of like when to work and when to not, because I'm always home. I don't know how to prioritize my time. It's something I struggle with.
Well, in my case, I am pretty much in the middle to the point that I'm supposed to be transitioning from work study to actual staff, but I'm still like in that middle point right now, just waiting for transition. So
I can't imagine people that are on like hourly right now. They don't like all the wait staff and everything, and they just had that portion of time where they couldn't work, and they just didn't have any money coming in or anything, and they depend on that, and it's just tough.
Yeah.
And we're really fortunate to kind of go through TCC and deal with what we're doing with, but I know that some people out there are hurting really bad.
yep, I agree.
Well, let's move it into a more positive light here. What are you guys looking forward to the most for the fall semester?
If we get
Seeing
back in
everyone.
person,
Getting back
yeah,
in person, seeing everyone, taking classes on campus, socializing.
yeah, that's pretty much.
I mean, in my case, it'll be go back to work,
Yeah, full stack.
finish my new major, and see everybody, and act like if nothing happened. Seriously, we
Yeah,
need this. We need this. We're a family. We need this.
Hopefully our events will be bigger.
Oh, and better. I can't wait until
yeah,
we do like come back and
Mm.
like just have like a whole big party or something like that.
Oh
Yes.
yes,
rally right off
I'm
the
down
bat.
for that. Yes, come
Huge
in.
pep rally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know they're working on a virtual pep rally right now, and some of you were privy to the Student Center programming for the upcoming semester. We've got a lot of really cool, new, inventive ideas that are on the plate. Again, that all depends upon when we return and at what capacity, but I think it's going to be a lot of really good turnout and a lot of really good response to what we've got going on. Shameless plug, for the time being, we still have some stuff going on social media. We're highlighting art, we're highlighting health and wellness, we're highlighting cooking and all kinds of other great stuff. And it's pretty much open to submission. So if there's somebody who wants to participate by any means, they can submit to us and we put it up there. But I definitely agree with you guys. I'm very much so looking forward to getting back on campus, seeing all of the smiling faces that I haven't seen in gosh, how long has it been? Over 3 months now?
Three
Oh
or 4
yeah,
months.
yeah.
Mm.
3 months, almost 3 months. Yeah.
Yeah, I know everybody will be a little apprehensive once we get back, but just being back there, I'll share with you guys that I was back on campus last week. I had to come in and check on a delivery And it was very nice to be back on campus, to be back in the center, in the building. But it was also very eerie seeing how quiet and empty it was. So I really look forward to the noise, to seeing everybody enjoying themselves and making lots of noise.
I have a question for you guys. Upon returning, do you guys think you expect any challenges returning back to like a normal life or a normal school life, so to speak, work life?
Mm,
It depends on how the person takes it. I mean, and
yeah.
how the individual feels. I mean, there are three things that I see this whole thing. You have the fear, you have the mass hysteria, but then you have people like, please open everything up, like me. Like, I don't know. So I think we have to be cautious, you know, just go with the flow, slow and about until we make sure that everybody's like comfortable enough to go, you know what? Yeah, we can tackle this. So yeah, but at the end of the day, it depends on the individual,
Yeah.
how the individual feels about it.
Um, Let me think. Is there things that you would particularly change about your daily routine now, other than, just hand sanitizing and wearing masks everywhere? Is there something that you could change to improve your life or other people's lives? Anything you can think of?
I think that from this, one thing we will all learn is to be a little bit more cautious and responsible for our own health and wellness.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me, every time flu season hits, at the student center, you start seeing Lysol come out and you start seeing desks and phones and everything wiped down. But the basic one is to wash your hands pretty frequently. And I mean, that cuts down your your likelihood of catching the virus considerably. But we are less cautious than we probably should be. And I think coming out of this, the main thing we're going to realize is that we can't expect the custodial staff to make sure that everything is clean and that everything is virus free. We have to take it upon ourselves to take those precautions. And if that means you wear a mask because you're concerned of germs, then so be it. If that means you just make sure you're not touching your face or that you're washing your hands more often, then that would be it as well. But at least for a short time coming back, I think that's going to be a main changeover for us. And I think people will hopefully come into that situation being very respectful that everyone's going to have a different level of comfort. Everyone, some people may be ready to come back in and give hugs, where other people are going to want to keep that 6-foot radius going. So as employees and as students, it's our responsibility to be respectful of other people's comfort zones and give them that space that they need.
I
Right.
think even out of school wise, like if you were to go to a gas station or something, people are probably more precautious about like touching the gas handle now and wearing gloves now and double checking. I think they'll be more aware of it now, especially after everything get back to normal.
Yeah, that's the place you'd think you would see like the disinfectant wipes more than anywhere else, and I don't ever see them by the gas pump.
You got
No.
the
Every time I pick that thing up, I'm like, okay, dirty hand,
No, you've never seen someone like that over there. No, not at all.
I keep hand sanitizer in my car.
hmm Yeah, so I know I can. One of the things that I'm looking forward to is in every obstacle and in every hardship, there's always growth and change and new ways of doing things. And I'm looking forward to the growth at TCC because of this. I'm looking forward to the movement towards, an overall better understanding of what virtual learning is, much more of an easier process for you guys as students on how to register for your classes and get the information you need about payment and, for us to be able to fill the classes at the need that we have in order to not have to cancel and just have a smoother process for you guys. So I think that this has been a push for us to reformat a lot of our processes, and definitely for our faculty to get more knowledgeable about the technological advances that we have. Do you guys have any optimistic viewpoints or hopes for the future because of this situation?
I think they'll probably keep most of the online stuff, like as you were saying. I think more people will probably go towards it if they have already tried it and got accustomed to it, especially if we do come back and people don't want to leave the house no more. They probably know how to do most of the stuff on their own already. So it'll probably be a lot more easier, especially in counseling. If you had to go through putting your classes in by yourself or had a virtual counselor go through it with you, I think it'll probably be more easier or more lighter on us.
Yeah, I think that that will be a great option. The option was always there. It's just that it was not either encouraged or pushed on. But ever since this pandemic, because I don't have any other word to say it or call it, ever since this happened, it gives us, it expands that option instead of being face to face. So yeah, I think it'll be a great thing for TCC to have it expanded for everybody and have staff and faculty involved with more training and all that in order to better assist the students. So yeah, I agree with whatever TCC needs to get done in terms of expanding the online option, which will be fine.
Even if it's hybrid, it'll probably be a lot better because you could be in class or you can also do the Zoom calls now. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep, I would agree. All right, well, we're going to finish up. Is there anything else that you guys would like to add or any questions that you want to throw out last minute?
No, I don't think I got any.
No?
Just
All right.
all we need is just to come back.
Yeah, there we go.
I miss my home campus. Come on. I miss everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to go back to my home campus.
Yeah.
I mean, if it is for me to follow guidelines, fine, but I want to be there.
Yes.
Well,
Home is where the heart is.
Yes.
y'all don't be shocked when you go back. They put in all new bushes and all new plants.
It's still the same home to me.
It's prettier now.
Oh, of course. I love my campus. Come on.
Awesome. Well, I thank you guys for your time today. I really appreciate all of the feedback that we got from you guys, and I really look forward to seeing you guys back on campus. You know, my fingers are crossed that we'll all be back there come fall semester. But again, thank you guys for your time, and
Thank you.
yeah,
you.
absolutely.
Thank
And
you
we
so
will see you
much.
next time. Absolutely. All right, you guys take care.
You too.
You too.